Houston police say the guards saw two men in masks with guns approach the victim, who was parked in the parking lot around 3 o'clock.
Something wild is bubbling out of Houston right now, and once you hear this, you won't look at it the same way again. Big names are getting dragged into the spotlight. The timing feels strange, and the alleged setup has people side-eyeing everything. Behind closed doors, the whispers sound way deeper than a random street rumor. The way this story supposedly unfolded feels like a scene straight out of a crime movie. Right in the middle of it stands J. Prince Jr., a name now being linked to an alleged investigation connected to what happened to Duke. It all traces back to a jeweler and a high-stakes dice game that allegedly spiraled out of control.
Can y'all elaborate on dice game when it's tied to y'all?
I know people were associating me with the situation because I went to Labusi pool party. And he happened to be there, and he happened to be standing on me. I mean, right next to him. The truth is, I never met him before. I had no idea who he is.
What started as friendly money play reportedly turned dark, fast, and Duke didn't walk out the same way he walked in. The deeper people dig, the more it feels like something carefully lined up from the start. But before breaking down Duke's tragic situation, you have to understand who J. Prince Jr. is and why his name carries weight in Houston. His father, J. Prince Sr., built Rap-A-Lot Records from the ground up, earning respect for protecting artists and handling business with discipline. That legacy is solid, but critics claim J. Prince Jr. moved differently. Instead of building his own lane, some say he leaned on the family name, getting close to wealthy visitors passing through the city. And here's what really has people talking. Reports say J. Prince Jr. grew up with privilege, private schools, safe neighborhoods, real resources, not survival mode. Yet according to multiple claims, he allegedly wanted to be viewed as a street figure, chasing an image that didn't match his background. That's where the rumored dice operation comes in. This wasn't described as a random once-a-year game. Sources claim it was a quiet system running for years. Names like Lil Cam and Big Caprice reportedly stayed close in the circle.
Why you think they Duke the Jeweler, they really couldn't get him? That's why they had, come on, homie. If you coming in to check in and you got to stay with this group and they taking you around, ain't taking you around and introduce you to people. They taking you around so everybody get a piece of you.
According to people familiar with the scene, the strategy allegedly started with choosing the right guests. Successful rappers, flashy athletes, jewelers, business figures visiting Houston. Social media would be checked, jewelry noticed, cars clocked, spending patterns watched. The goal? Simple. Find out who really had money and who liked to show it. Once someone was picked, J. Prince Jr. would reportedly step in with that smooth welcome to the city energy. Legacy talk, respectful vibes, name drops, expensive dinners, VIP sections. It all looked official and polished, almost too clean to question. By the end of the night, guests allegedly felt like they were around solid allies. That's when the dice game would casually enter the picture. Never forced, never rushed, just introduced like harmless fun. Early rounds were set to feel normal. Regular dice, light bets, enough wins to build confidence and trust. Everything seemed legit. But then, according to claims, the energy would shift. Losses started stacking quietly, small at first, then heavier. By the time someone realized something felt off, the damage was reportedly already done. They were already too deep to turn back, and that's where the story locks in on Duke. He wasn't some reckless rookie. Duke was respected in the hip-hop jewelry world with real status and strong connections. His lifestyle spoke loud, and according to claims, that spotlight is exactly what made him stand out.
Maybe we need to change the word for the youngsters. The checking in part, is they seem to get hung up on that word checking in.
Yeah.
So if we could diversify that word and bring it up to a 2021 thing.
Right.
When Duke landed in Houston, sources say he received full VIP treatment. J. Prince Jr. allegedly showed him around the city, introduced him to major names, and made sure he felt protected. To Duke, it felt authentic. It looked like real bonds were forming with people who had influence and respect. But according to the rumors, he was allegedly walking straight into a trap. After a night filled with parties, business talk, and big energy, someone casually mentioned the dice game. Duke was relaxed and confident, thinking it was just part of the Houston nightlife. Bright lights, fast vibes, big personalities. To him, it was just another epic night in the making. Then everything reportedly flipped. Claims say someone inside J. Prince Jr.'s circle made a serious mistake. During the alleged rig setup, the loaded dice were supposedly handed to Duke by accident instead of staying within the crew. That kind of slip isn't small. It changes everything. Once Duke had those dice in his hands, the game reportedly shifted fast. Instead of losing, he started winning heavy, not pocket change, serious money. We're talking massive stacks. The same dice that allegedly guaranteed losses were now bringing Duke non-stop wins.
What's the word, OG? What's the word?
Maybe we may want to tell them they need to get connected.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the proper word, connected, properly connected, or whatnot.
Yeah, they getting tripped up on the semantics.
Yeah, they get stuck. I mean, right there, you stuck. So then you stuck on stupid, right?
Yeah.
You're stuck on stupid, and you're not using your power or access to powers that you have.
The crew allegedly had to sit there and watch it unfold. They couldn't accuse him of cheating because the dice weren't his. They couldn't suddenly stop the game without raising questions either. Their own alleged setup boxed him in. With every roll Duke made, the mood reportedly got colder around the table. The more he won, the tighter the tension grew. And through it all, Duke allegedly had no clue that anything was wrong. From Duke's point of view, it felt like the perfect night. He thought luck had finally picked his side. The music was loud, people were cheering, and every win had the room jumping. He allegedly believed it was all fair and all fun, never suspecting that behind those smiles, pressure was building. Insiders claimed that energy in the room didn't match what was really happening. As Duke kept stacking win after win, the mood reportedly shifted.
We all know if you can tap into good people wherever you go.
Wherever.
You know what I mean? It's a blessing, Rip.
Real talk.
The dice were allegedly meant to drain him, not make him richer. And when that money started flowing the wrong direction, panic supposedly hit fast. This wasn't just about losing cash. According to multiple claims, it was about protecting an alleged operation. If word spread that the dice setup could fail, people say the whole system could collapse overnight. That's when things reportedly turned colder. Sources allege the focus shifted quickly from fixing a mistake to controlling the damage. The reported goals were simple: recover the money and make sure Duke didn't speak on what happened. That's when a new plan was allegedly put in motion.
Can y'all elaborate on dice game when it's tied to y'all?
I know people were associating me with the situation because I went to Labusi pool party. And he happened to be there, and he happened to be standing on me. I mean, right next to him. The truth is, I never met him before. I had no idea who he is. I didn't even know he was a jeweler until after his passing.
Duke was reportedly invited to a nearby concert, pitched as an after-party to keep the celebration alive. From his perspective, it sounded like more fun, more vibes, more wins. He likely thought the crew just wanted to celebrate his streak and keep the energy high. Witnesses say he showed up relaxed and smiling, still riding that winning high. Jewelry shining, designer bags in hand, the cash from earlier reportedly still close by. On the outside, everything looked smooth and festive. But according to insiders, every move Duke made that night was allegedly being watched closely. The packed concert made it easy for people to move without notice. Loud music, flashing lights, crowds everywhere. According to claims,
The night of that game isn't the night that he got killed. He got killed leaving Boosie concert the next night because somebody tried to rob him. So, the internet play internet games. But this is a situation with a dude that I didn't even know. I ain't know his name. I had no knowledge of him. I ain't know he was from Chicago. I ain't know he was a jeweler until social media started trying to point a finger because he was standing next to me. And it's just unfortunate that something transpired after another dice game, but neither incidents had anything to do with a dice.
it was the perfect cover for something unfolding quietly in the background. Sources allege Duke's movements were being watched, his timing, his route, even the moment he might be alone. This reportedly wasn't random. It was described as calculated. When the show ended, Duke headed toward his car, unaware the night was about to shift in a serious way. Multiple reports claim several individuals approached him in the parking lot and demanded the money he had won earlier at the dice game.
I stayed with Quavo. We stayed out there probably like 2 or 3 hours together before we all parted ways and made sure each other was cool. Like, me and him stayed out there. Like, one other person pulled up, but it was me and him that stayed out there for hours after this transpired. So
Duke, believing his wins were legitimate, allegedly refused to hand it over. That decision, according to sources, sparked a confrontation that escalated fast. What started as tension reportedly turned into chaos. Authorities later confirmed Duke was violently confronted, and tragically, he lost his life in that parking lot. One detail continues to stand out. His jewelry, chains, watches, rings, was reportedly still on him, untouched. Items worth a fortune remained. The only thing missing, according to reports, was the cash from the dice game. For many following the case, that detail raises serious questions. Some observers believe this incident wasn't about random robbery. They claim it may have been about recovering money and preventing fallout from a failed setup. Investigators have described the situation as organized rather than spontaneous. though the full truth remains part of an ongoing process. Many who discuss the case believe Duke was caught in something bigger than a simple night of gambling. According to allegations, when he started winning money he was never expected to win. Everything shifted. It's a chilling thought. Some say his only mistake was winning too much in a game that allegedly wasn't built to be fair in the first place. Behind the names and the rumors, that night in Houston still feels heavy. People keep asking who was really in control and who might still be keeping quiet. Sources close to the case claim Duke's fate was sealed the moment the alleged rigged system failed. Once that setup cracked, they say the entire operation went into crisis mode. According to these claims, when Duke walked away proving the dice hustle could be beaten, the threat wasn't just financial, it was exposure. Observers following the story say it wasn't pride causing panic, it was fear of everything collapsing. An alleged system built on deception was suddenly unstable. And as intense as that sounds, insiders suggest Duke wasn't the only one to step into that pattern. The biggest name connected to similar whispers was Takeoff from Migos. What happened that night in Houston shook the music world and left fans stunned. Reports say Quavo and Takeoff allegedly received that same polished treatment others described before. Smiles, hospitality, talks about respect and legacy. Everything felt smooth and welcoming. But this time, the stakes were massive. The money on the table reportedly wasn't light. It was serious cash, life-changing amounts, the kind that can shift the mood in seconds. At first, witnesses say the vibe seemed calm. Then Quavo allegedly started losing and losing fast. Sources claim the losses climbed into six figures quickly. That's when, according to people present, Quavo began noticing details. He's no stranger to high-pressure environments. He understands money and competition, and witnesses say certain patterns stood out to him. The same hands touching the dice, the same rotation of players, the same outcomes repeating. Lil' Cam and Big Caprice were allegedly controlling the flow, passing the dice in a way some observers later described as suspicious. According to witnesses, Quavo eventually stopped staying quiet. He reportedly started calling it out. Witnesses say Quavo questioned the fairness of the game, openly challenging what he believed was happening right in front of him. That's when the mood allegedly flipped. Voices got louder. The tension spiked. People tried to calm things down without directly addressing the accusations.
But by then, too much money had reportedly changed hands and emotions were running high. According to official records, the argument escalated and shots were fired during the chaos. Takeoff, who was not involved in the dispute and wasn't arguing, was tragically struck and lost his life that night. That moment stunned the culture. It pushed private whispers into national headlines. Questions that had been ignored suddenly demanded answers. As the investigation unfolded, more developments added to the tension. Lil' Cam was later taken into custody in connection with the incident involving Takeoff. For many observers, that detail felt significant. Some believe it supports the idea that these events weren't isolated, but possibly connected through the same circle of people who had been around those dice games for years. With national attention building, critics say J. Prince Jr. appeared to shift into defense mode. Interviews surfaced, public statements were made, explanations were offered, but not everyone was convinced. Some viewers pointed to his tone and the way certain questions were handled, saying it left room for doubt. To this day, many believe the full story hasn't been completely laid out in public. What started as low-level whispers has grown into serious conversations about influence, loyalty, and how far people might go to protect their reputation when pressure builds. Then, just when it seemed like the narrative has settled, new claims surfaced. According to WAC 100, a well-known but controversial industry figure, there's a possibility that J. Prince Jr. may have been quietly cooperating with federal authorities long before the public knew anything about the situation. If there's any truth to that claim, it could shift how people view everything that happened. If true, that claim could explain a lot of the confusion around these cases. WAC 100 publicly stated that he allegedly overheard a phone call involving J. Prince Jr., where a number, somewhere between 80 to 100 people, was discussed in a way that sounded like early knowledge of possible law enforcement action. That accusation lit up the internet fast. People immediately started asking questions. Was J. Prince Jr. playing both sides? Was he protecting himself behind the scenes while others believed he was untouchable? If any part of that story holds weight, it shifts how people see everything connected to Houston. Suddenly, the dice games, the alliances, the losses, and the chaos didn't look like random drama. Some began speculating it could have been about leverage, influence, and protecting certain information at all costs. What made the situation even more intense was what allegedly happened next. According to WAC 100, the day after that supposed phone call, federal agents carried out large-scale operations across Houston. He claimed the number of people taken into custody fell within that same 80 to 100 range. Online, that detail sent speculation into overdrive. Many people saw it as more than coincidence. If that allegation were ever proven true, it would suggest something much bigger was happening behind the scenes. Instead of simply being tied to street activity, critics speculate J. Prince Jr. could have been positioning himself differently, possibly sharing information upward while maintaining influence outward. Observers also point to how events have unfolded since then. Several individuals allegedly connected to the dice game circle have faced serious legal trouble. Lil Cam has reportedly faced major charges, and others connected to the same network have also been arrested. Meanwhile, J. Prince Jr. has not been charged in connection to those claims. He remains publicly visible and continues his life without formal accusations tied to these specific allegations. To some critics, that contrast stands out. Supporters argue that visibility doesn't equal guilt. Critics argue that remaining untouched while others face consequences raises questions. Either way, it's that contrast that keeps fueling the conversation.
The once low-key dice scene that allegedly operated in the shadows is now under intense scrutiny. Layer by layer, details are being examined. And right in the middle of all the noise, J. Prince Jr. remains uncharged in relation to these rumors. For many watching closely, that calm presence amid federal investigations feels unusual, and that's exactly why the speculation hasn't slowed down. To some people watching from the outside, it feels like someone is pulling strings behind the scenes, and those strings seem strong. But while attention stays locked on one name, the impact of this entire situation has stretched far beyond one person. Houston, once known as a welcoming southern hub for artists, has reportedly felt the shift. Industry insiders claim promoters are having a harder time booking major talent. Some artists are said to be quietly skipping tour stops. Behind the scenes, trust has taken a hit. What once felt like open arms and hospitality now comes with hesitation. When someone offers to show love or guide visitors around the city, there's more caution than excitement. And when the phrase dice game comes up, the mood reportedly changes fast. It's no longer seen as harmless fun. For some, it's a red flag. Critics argue that these allegations cut deep because they clash with what hip-hop was built on. At its core, the culture represents community, growth, and turning struggle into success. It's supposed to be about protection and unity. Some critics claim J. Prince Jr. allegedly twisted that energy for personal benefit. They point out that he came from a powerful legacy, strong family ties, industry access, real influence, opportunities most people never see. The argument from critics is that if those advantages were misused, the damage hits harder. Supporters, on the other hand, say allegations are not proof and remind people that speculation shouldn't replace facts. That balance keeps the debate alive. What makes the story sting for many observers is the idea that when someone with influence makes questionable choices, the ripple effects don't stop with them. Trust shifts, movements change, people second guess who they stand next to. Out of all this chaos, a few lessons keep coming up. First, a famous name doesn't automatically equal loyalty. Legacy can open doors, but actions are what build trust. Every individual still has to prove themselves through consistent behavior. Second, artists and public figures traveling city to city need stronger safeguards. It's not just about knowing someone local anymore. It's about verified connections, solid security, and real awareness of potential setups. Because in today's climate, moving smart isn't optional, it's survival. Street hospitality can look warm and inviting, but sometimes it can hide risks that damage careers or worse. That's why instinct matters. If something feels off, listen to it. No amount of fame, money, or clout is worth ignoring your gut. Walking away early might cost you a moment of fun, but it could protect your future. The hard truth is, danger doesn't always look obvious. It doesn't always come from strangers in dark corners. Sometimes it shows up smiling, dressed sharp, offering VIP treatment and good vibes. That's what makes stories like this unsettling. The people who seem the safest can sometimes carry the biggest risks. Real protection isn't just security teams or locked doors. It's awareness. It's understanding that not every handshake is solid and not every welcome is sincere. In today's spotlight culture, even success can attract situations that aren't what they seem, and missing the warning signs can cost everything.
This situation highlights something deeper than dice games or nightlife drama. Manipulation doesn't always require force. Once trust is earned, influence becomes easier. That's how people can end up stepping into environments they normally would avoid. At its core, this isn't just about gambling tables. It's about how trust can be flipped, how loyalty can be tested, and how unchecked greed can harm entire communities. When respect turns into leverage and hospitality turns into pressure, the fallout goes beyond money. It impacts trust, it impacts culture, it impacts how people move from that point forward. Now, let's keep this responsible and clear. Everything discussed here is based on allegations, public speculation, and statements from figures like WAC 100. No final legal conclusions have been reached, and investigations are still ongoing. Details can change as new facts come out.
What is confirmed is that federal authorities are reportedly looking closely at J. Prince Jr. and individuals connected to these events. Several arrests have already been made, and sources suggest more developments could follow. When federal investigations reach this level, it usually means the situation is still unfolding. And regardless of how it ends, the impact has already been real. Duke lost his life. Takeoff lost his life. Families were left grieving. Careers have been shaken. Reputations damaged. And Houston's image in the industry has taken a hit. Whether intentional or not, the consequences are serious. But this story isn't just something to watch and scroll past. It's a reminder. Fame, money, and influence don't guarantee protection. In many cases, the higher someone rises, the more attention they attract, and not all attention is positive. The takeaway isn't fear, it's awareness. Verify who you're around, pay attention to patterns, be cautious of situations that feel rushed, pressured, or too polished. Trusting your instincts might feel awkward in the moment, but it can protect your future in ways you can't measure. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think this was all coincidence, or does it feel like there's a deeper pattern behind these events? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's talk about it. Your perspective might connect dots someone else missed. If this breakdown gave you new insight, hit the like button so more people can join the conversation. Subscribe for more in-depth breakdowns and updates as this story continues to unfold. Stay aware, move smart, and speak on it below.